Hey guys, welcome to the Movies in Minutes. I'm your host, the friendly neighborhood comic book dude. We've been about we last got together. Last week there was a holiday, holiday weekend, and this weekend it's just like incredibly nice. And I think everybody's out doing stuff. We tried to and just kind of didn't work out. But I don't want to get the movies too backed up because the whole idea is we want to be topical. They want them to be relevant to as you so you guys can make decisions on whether you're going to go or buy them on digital or things like that. So for this particular, I'm going to go through the most recent movies with you guys. Something that we do very often because behind this podcast movie is to get the opinions of people like you guys these films yet contrast mine, somebody who's seen them already. If not, you could just be going and watching any old review. That's not what I'm here for. It's not just my opinion. But hopefully this can be a thing, and hopefully we'll wrangle some more guests for next time. So, about 8 movies in the last 2 weeks, and as expeditious as well with you guys because your time is valuable, and I don't want stuck on listening to me talk. I'd rather you get a little bit of information and then make that yourself. But movie number one in the last 2 weeks was Kanadahar. It was a film set in Iran. I want to say sometime in the last 10 years, date specifically, but if they did, it was in the 2000s. The Ayatollah, well, there, and it's supposed to be about something that, like basically the U.S., one of the nuclear silos, Gerard Butler is inside Iran. He gets out, but then he sort of gets back in. Basically, has to try to escape from all the warring sides to this guy, so they can, run the U.S. And I mean it wasn't a bad premise. Again, obviously it's based in true stories. So to sit here and say a good story, even though it's based in reality, is what it is. The biggest issue with this movie, though, is it comes off not as good as something that maybe like there was another movie that came out not long ago from Guy Ritchie, The Covenant, and that film was leagues and bounds better than this. It had similar elements, also based on true stories about translators and U.S. forces, but just filmed so much better character. And I hate to crap on Gerard Butler because he's such a great guy, but it's just not as good a movie. You can kind of map from start to finish. He does the thing, is on the run, and I'm not going to say what happens, but I'm sure you can draw the conclusions. This being a less good version of The Covenant, it just can't hold the same amount of like score. And out of 5 stars, I would call Kandahar 2.5. It's okay. I really don't think that there's a whole lot of recommendations I can make on that one outside of if you really like Gerard Butler. But I really wouldn't pay for that one, theater or otherwise. Not because I don't want you to give them the money, but movies are meant to be entertaining, and if I can offer you a more entertaining film like The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal there, you should probably go for that one. Movie 2 out of the last 2 weeks there was Fast X. I'm gonna preface this by saying before I saw Fast X, I had never seen that same week. I'd never seen any Fast and Furious movies. I sat and I binged all of them. I've seen all the Fast and the Furious movies now, and most of the early ones were good, and then the rest kind of just got like more of the same. Some big bad guy, some big government organization. For some reason, the Fast Crew is who they call for help, but they jump over the moon in one of them. It's kind of hard to top that with Fast 10. But honestly, it was still a really good movie relative to both being a Fast and Furious movie and being just a good movie. But if I'm being honest, it's not because of the crew that you've come to enjoy. It's really more the villain this time. They got Jason Momoa to basically play like the Joker, or just really, twisted sociopath. They shoehorn his backstory into one of the earlier Fast and Furious movies. So if you're a longtime fan, you'll see scenes where they kind of reshot them from number five and number five, and kind of made him part of the history without having, like, and giving you an explanation as to why you haven't seen him between then and now. But he just kind of steals the show, though. Like, every scene that he's on the screen, you kind of don't know what to expect. He's just freaking crazy, and we're here for it. The film does end in a cliffhanger. I know at the premiere for Fast X, even though there was only supposed to be one more, they actually announced that they were going to do a total of 3 movies to finish this off. So 10 part 2, 10 part 3. We'll see if they stick to that, since they didn't stick to their initial plan. So on a 5-point scale, though, I would give that one a 4 out of 5. So that one was, again, pretty good, but more than anything, it was Jason Momoa's bad guy, the cliffhanger, kind of just all the moving parts. You get some nice cameos and some nice setup for whatever they got going on in the future. Let's see. Number 3 on our list was About My Father, which was the one of 2 possible comedies that happened to come out on the same day. And they were both movies about comedians playing themselves, and then an exaggerated version of their lives. The About My Father one was Sebastian Maniscalco, who's like a New York Times bestselling comedian, and he got Robert De Niro to play his dad, and it's basically him and his fiance going away for a holiday weekend. I think it's 4th of July, and De Niro's playing his dad, and he's embarrassed of his dad. He has to invite him along, though, and it's just the hijinks that happen with, like, your father, just being like an old person who just is set in their ways, also an immigrant. It comes up multiple times. And it's a comedy for sure. It's nothing, I don't think it's anything too crazy. I mean, you definitely get Sebastian kind of doing some of his best bits through the film, and they were nice to see. I mean, De Niro's always a treat. The mother of his fiance in the film is Kim Cattrall, also good. But pretty typical comedy. It almost kind of had Meet the Parents vibes, but I mean, again, not as good as that. Which I feel bad like saying, but if it's not as good, it's not as good, right? About My Father, I mean, even though it's a pretty by the numbers comedy, it has some feel good moments, and again, kind of De Niro pushed it up a little bit more just because he's himself. And that one I gave a 3.5 out of 5 to. Really good, for laughs. I have a hard time recommending any comedies for the theater anymore. I mean, I really want people to be at the theater watching movies, but I understand why they're not. And movies like this aren't going to be the thing that are going to send you to the theater. So not unsurprisingly, do I expect anybody to be rushing to go see this. From there, we've got a new Julia Louis-Dreyfus movie. It's kind of like an indie dark comedy drama. Not really quite sure how to slot that one. It was from A24, and it's called You Hurt My Feelings. And the premise is Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a author. She's married. Her husband's a psychiatrist. Her son is just kind of getting started in the world. He's working at a dispensary. She's working on a new book, and she has her husband reading notes for it, but then she catches her husband while he's out with a friend shopping. She's gonna like go up and say hi to him, but like he doesn't know it's her, doesn't know that she's gonna do it, because it's just like a chance encounter. And she hears her husband say that he hates her book, that he like the new book. He thinks it's bad, all that, and it just kind of breaks her, because she has a lot of respect for her husband's opinion, and just hearing that he's been lying and telling her that he likes it and doesn't really like it. It's yeah. And on its face, the premise is kind of just like really Julia Louis-Dreyfus, get over it. He said a platitude to make you feel better, about something that he didn't like. But at the end of it, it's also an opinion. So I mean, it it should only it should only matter so much as the value she puts on the opinion, and she probably shouldn't put that much value over of her own work for somebody else's opinion greater than her own. But the film itself is less about the cut and dry reasoning and more about the character development. I mean, you see a lot of like very good character driven moments between Louise Dreyfus, her husband. I mean, you see a lot of like different character interactions, and it's kind of weird the things they choose to focus on, because she's the star, but she's not the star. I mean, we get some decent focus on her husband's psychiatric practice, and the lack of progress he's making, after years of doing it, and or failures that he's beginning to run into. We see like a side plot with her sister and her husband. They explore some stuff with the son and one of his relationships. So I mean, it's about her, but it's also kind of meant to remind you to step back and say that not everything is about you. I don't know, and I actually thought it was a really good movie. I gave it 4 out of 5. Again, nothing about it is so screen specific that you need to see it on a big screen. I think for anybody that likes thought provoking stuff or enjoys things from A24, I think would really like it. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a personal decision if you want to pay for something like that, or even, I don't know, try to look for it somewhere on streaming at some point. I tend to think that these indie things will be less likely to find on streaming, and they'll be like, you buy it if you want it, and if not, good luck. So there's that one. Our next one was a big blockbuster. I actually saw this twice already, and visually, that this one I actually think does require you to see it on a bigger screen. And this is The Little Mermaid. It's the live action remake that Disney's kind of been doing in the line of the last over the last decade. We've gotten like Beauty and the Beast, we've got Aladdin. I mean, every couple of years we're getting another one. They did Lion King, so excuse me. But Little Mermaid, they definitely tweaked some things about to add some more modern sensibilities to it. Obviously, there's concerns sometimes with films like this that they depict aspects of reality that we're trying to kind of change. I know some people have pointed out that in this version, it's not supposed to be just about her interest in the man, if any interest at all. I guess my spoiler to that is it is still pretty much about the man, like in terms of her interest in getting to the surface world. She loves the surface world. She wants to be there. I don't really see that as anything different than the original, the cartoon. It seems like not a whole lot changed. I think maybe they just took some subtle instances to de-emphasize that it was about her interest in him, but I think it's still about her interest in him. But she loves the surface world. She doesn't like being told that she can't be a part of it, and in turn, that pushes her further towards it than away from it. The visuals are stunning. The songs that we remember are great. If I counted right, there were 4 original songs that were not in the original, including Eric Gets a Song, which he didn't have before. That was pretty good. But also more songs just It was just really good. Halle Bailey, who is the new Little Mermaid, spot on voice. She embodies Ariel. I do think the scenes were very well stolen though by Melissa McCarthy, who I tell people a lot of the time I'm not a huge fan of. But this role, she won me over. She took a character that a lot like Emma Stone did with Cruella. She took a character that we only really got like surface level information on in past iterations, and gave it more life. I couldn't say that she um did as well as the original. I would say that she did better than the original. She just had some Melissa McCarthyisms that I could see come through, but in a good way, and it just was really great. Um, there are maybe a few moments here there that one might require some extra suspension of disbelief for. Granted, you understand that you're watching a fantasy movie with magic and mermaids and things like that, but there were still a few moments that kind of didn't make sense. Like when you see it, you if you think about it, you may notice Ursula is kind of defeated way too easy. So, um, but again, stunning visuals. I mean, everything about that one, 5 out of 5. It just great for kids, great for the kids that are now grown ups that lived through it and enjoyed it. Great for the people that maybe like the Hans Christian Andersen version of the Little Mermaid, but want something more lighthearted. I really can't imagine anybody watching that movie and not like walking out with a song on their heart. So there was that. Oh, what do we get left? We got 3 movies left from the past 2 weeks to catch you guys up on. The second of the two films where a comedian played themselves and sort of exaggerated their lives after what we know about them was Bert Kreischer in The Machine. Anybody that knows Bert Kreischer or knows the Bert Kreischer story, he got famous by telling this story on stage about kind of like the saga of him learning Russian, going to Russia, stealing from a train car, just being genuinely like crazy and obnoxious, all just coming down to a um, mistranslation in a phrase that he said to a bunch of Russian mobsters, where he was trying to say something and then it came out as like a joke of, "Hey, I'm the machine," because like I can't be stopped. I can drink, I can do drugs, I can do whatever. And it flash forwards to the present where they got Mark Hamill to play his dad, and people from Russia come back looking for him, and becomes like a whole epic. He stole something and needs to refind it, and just a zany, funny. I think, and as I watched About My Father and this, I came down to the same rating on them both. They're about 3.5. Again, they're enjoyable, they're funny. Um, I like Mark Hamill slightly more than I like Robert De Niro, but they both have the acting chops. It's kind of like a stalemate. I also think I like Bert Kreischer a little bit more than I like Sebastian, but again, they both can do the job. Um, I think that this one will get a little bit more play. I think Kreischer is more famous than Maniscalco. I think if you like Bert Kreischer, you should definitely watch this. Nothing again about it though is, as compared to most of the things that we talk about here on this channel, don't rise to the level of you got to run to the theater and see it on a big screen. It'll probably be on digital within 2 weeks from now. And I mean, if you'd pay some amount of money to buy a ticket to see a show from him, you could you could pay the $20 or $25 to rent it and enjoy it with like your spouse or your significant other or a bunch of your buddies. It'd be worth it. Last 2 movies for this session. Another movie that I'm slightly biased towards as a comic person. I always have good things to say about comic book movies. Only this time, I think this is one that other people actually agree with, and this was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Basically, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2, however you want to look at it, the Miles Morales led animated movie. Featured Gwen Stacy as Spider-Gwen. We got 2099 Spider-Man, who was done by Pedro Pascal. Some of the returning guys from the first movie, a whole lot of people we've never seen before, but if you're any kind of Spider-Man comic person, you'll recognize. But the visuals, beautiful. It really feels like you're watching a comic book play out across the screen in some spots. In other spots, it's just seems like next level animation, and it's breathtaking. The music is good. The voice talents are good. The film does end on a cliffhanger, but it also has a lot of Easter eggs. Probably too many to count in the theater. Probably something where you're gonna have to watch it at home if you're a diehard fan at some point and just be able to like pause. Oh, I know that. Pause. Oh, I know that. And just, I mean, that could just be its own thing aside from watching the movie. On the calendar right now, IMDb does in fact say that the sequel for this movie is March of next year. I tend to think that they would make it come out the same time the following year so they could, make the most out of like the box office. But I would love to see the sequel in 6 months. Guys, I apologize for all this yawning. I'm not even that tired. It might just be where I am right now. It's very cool and relaxing. But like Little Mermaid, this one I definitely would say you should see on the screen. It's not going to look anywhere near as good on your home TV. The more premium the format that you see this one, the better. I saw this in 40x, where the seats move and there's like whooshing and water, and it's in 3D, and it was worth every penny. Yeah, and then last movie of the week, which sort of makes me sad. I maybe am in the minority on this one, but I am a big horror buff, and it's a Stephen King inspired film called The Boogeyman, based on a Stephen King short, and I just didn't like it. I thought it was bad. I don't, a lot of people who know me know my reviewing system and my feelings on things. I give bad reviews, but I give good more often than not. And horror, I tend to give a pass to a lot of the time, and I just really like it. I think that it spent way too much time on backstory and exposition for the protagonists more so than the monster in a horror movie. I don't care about the people that are just barely surviving. I want to know about the creature. I want to know its lore, its backstory, its motivation, its anything. And this movie did a terrible job of that. You barely see the thing until the last 10 minutes, which happens in horror movies. But again, show me the monster. I don't care about the people. The people are interchangeable. They'll get killed and you'll put other people on the screen. The monster should be enduring. I don't know. And from start to finish, the film is just like it's all set up and no bite. And I don't know. I could be in the minority on this one. Maybe I have a hot take. Just didn't really think much of it. I gave that a 2 out of 5. I'm sorry, Stephen King. I like a lot of your other stuff. I don't know how much involvement you had. Maybe they just used your name and somebody else like put your work to shame. But that was 8 movies over the past 2 weeks. We're weekending 6-4 here. Hopefully, next week after, we get Transformers coming. We get some other cool stuff in the works, movie wise, and hopefully we'll have some awesome guests here to chat them up with us for the next batch of things. I thank you guys for watching, listening. If you ever have recommendations or you want to be on, comment, just subscribe, hit me up, and I'll catch you guys next time. It's been Movies and Minutes. I've been your host, the friendly neighborhood comic book dude, Nabil Khan. See you guys next time.